Good evening. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to call the October 21st South Shore Falls Board meeting to order. All five directors are here. The meeting was noticed on October 17th. The prior minutes from the September meeting are in your board packet. Everyone had a chance to take a look at them? Yeah. Do I have a motion to accept them as read? Second? All in favor? Again, good evening. Thank you all for being here and for taking an interest in the well-being of our community. It's really good to see you all. As fall goes farther on, more and more people come, and we're glad a lot of you snowbirds are back. This board and the boards previously have worked hard and tirelessly to oversee the business of running our community. I would like to thank my fellow board members for those efforts and to thank you all for your support. We are now in the process of developing the budget for 2020, and our efforts for the next month will be centered on that mission. It's a complicated undertaking with many moving parts. As we have done in the past, we will have several budget forums in the coming weeks to explain our planning process and to answer your questions. The culmination of the project will be our formal budget meeting, which happens in mid or to late November. We'll send that date out shortly. Our 5 new stop signs have all been installed, the last one on the corner of Sunset and Sunset. Please be careful and please be observant. As we have discussed at the September meeting, we have contracted with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department to randomly patrol our streets. Violation notices will be issued by the HOA based on the reports from the deputy patrolling our community. So again, please be careful. And bicyclists and walkers, please be vigilant. Bicyclists need to follow the rules of the road so that the cars know what to expect. But from what I've seen at the stop signs, it seems like a lot of people are coming to a stop and looking both ways, which is really good. Okay, the first one, new business. You got something you want to go first?
Before we get started, I'd like to make a couple of comments about what is probably the elephant in the room tonight. At the workshop meeting last week, I mentioned to the board that several residents had recently asked me about the possibility of a dog park in South Shore Falls. Having a dog, they assumed I would be supportive of that suggestion, and I told them that I would be happy to look into it. My only purpose in mentioning it to the workshop was to inform the board of this resident suggestion and let them know that I was examining the request. I asked for no vote and no expression of support. As we have done sometimes in the past, these comments took on a life of their own, and there have been many emails and comments about the idea, both negative and positive. We have a habit of getting ahead of ourselves sometimes, and many of you, I think, will remember the golf cart scare of a couple of years ago. Here are the realities of the situation. To date, all that has happened is this. I have mentioned to the board that residents have made this request, and I have scheduled a meeting to allow residents who would be interested to use that meeting to determine their ideas and their dedication to the project. Let me be very clear about my position. Every resident in this community has the right and the privilege to advance an idea, a thought, a proposal that in his or her mind would benefit the community. Every resident has the right to expect that this idea will receive reasonable consideration, review, and analysis. Every resident has the right to expect that their idea will receive that level of attention. Neither the board nor the ever-present contingent of naysayers has the right to reject any resident's idea out of hand without the respect and consideration of examination and discussion. I have not even begun that process. That is why I have scheduled a fact-finding meeting to determine not only the level of interest, but the level of determination the supporters of this idea have. Is there evidence of bad dog parks? Of course there is. But there is also ample evidence of well-run dog parks. I can assure you none of us wants a poorly run park. That's why we were scheduling our meeting, to see how much effort and support we can expect from the residents who would use the park and how little impact it could have on the community as a whole. I would like to comment on a couple of quotes from the many postings on the subject. First, quote, "Very disappointed that a board member would use his bully pulpit to further a personal agenda for a special interest group." And second, quote, "If there is not at least 40% of homeowners wanting a dog park, no further discussion is warranted." Ladies and gentlemen, everything we do here is for a special interest group. We currently are considering an expenditure for the pickleball courts. We are considering resurfacing the pool tables. We recently assisted a major fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. We support the bingo group, the arts and crafts group, and on and on. And yes, I am considering assisting the dog owners special interest group to have their request heard. Likewise, everything we do here is for less than 40% of the residents. That number, by the way, would be around 600 people. Could any one of us name an activity or program that 600 people attend or give support? This is a community, and its strength comes from the fact that the vast majority of us think of it as a community in its entirety, not as a collection of special interest groups vying for a share of the community pot. Thank God we all think this way. My responsibility to you, just like my fellow board members, is to represent you when needed and support you whenever possible. To say that my willingness to assist the residents who have spoken to me is anything less than my sworn duty simply demonstrates that there are those people who still don't understand how a community works. It is not my choice, it is my duty. Please consider this. Rejecting this request with no facts, no analysis, and no consideration sets the stage for treating the next request the same way. And the next request might be yours. Seeking out the input and desires of our residents is our responsibility to all residents, and not giving reasonable consideration to that input, in my mind, is an insult to all residents. By the way, our meeting for those interested in the park is set for November 6th, 1 o'clock in the back ballroom, and the future of this request rests in your hands. Thank you.
Okay, Jason, manager's report?
It's working. Something that's been going on, obviously we know the issues with landscaping and the work orders that we've been putting in. Those of you who are getting back or just coming back in town, many of you are coming into this issue that we've been talking about for some time, fresh and new. That means, that we were aware it was going to happen, but at the same time, we've asked several people to put in a work order when they see an issue with their yard. I want to just make it clear that we're not asking anyone to put in that work order to put them out, and we know that in the past, a lot of those work orders took quite a bit of time to get taken care of. There's quite a few of you who have put in a work order and can attest to the fact that when a work order is put in, it allows us to manage that process. And when I say manage the process, for us to track the information that comes from down to earth, as far as any input we put into it, we have a tracker that we keep on that. If we don't have a work order number, there's no tracking mechanism for that. So if you call a board member or the office to find out something, there's no way of looking into it. So that's why we keep expressing and pushing people to put in that work order. It's not to add any more to it or to push anything to the side. It's that we've known and we've recognized that when a work order is put in, we can better manage it. So it's pretty important. It's an important part of the process. And again, I hear people get upset when we ask them to do it. We just want you to understand we're not doing that to be difficult. We just want to make sure that the issue that you have gets taken care of. And then if it's not taken care of, we can see the chain of events where we miss something in the chain of events, and we can fix that issue. So that's the purpose of that. The other thing I want to talk about, I don't know, most of you that come by the clubhouse notice, we did hire Stephanie. We have a new person at the desk. Seems to be working out really well, and she's fitting with the group nicely. It's also helping the workload at the clubhouse to put, make it a little easier on the rest of the staff so that they're not so spread thin. Hopefully, going forward, that improves with some of the services that we provide. we intend on bringing in 2 more part-time people. We have one that's going through the background process now. If everything goes smooth with that, we'll be starting soon, and then we're looking for the third. We've interviewed several candidates, so hopefully soon you'll see a few new fresh faces at the desk, which will help us with taking care of the clubhouse and the community, and allow us to do the work that we need to do without putting so much stress on one person.
Thank you. Treasurer's report, Sarah?
Oh, you got it.
You gotta turn it on.
Hi. Can you hear me? Anyway, just wanted to let you know the July financials are ready to be posted on the website. So I'd like to propose that we post the July financials. All in favor? Okay, thank you. August is not ready yet, but they say probably by the end of the week. I have high hopes. We do have still a surplus, which means we haven't spent as much as we anticipated so far, but that could change. For the September 30 financials, we have $813,000 plus in operating cash available. Now, more than half of that is in our infrastructure repair, replace, improvement account, earning interest, about $1,500 so far. So we have about $490,000 set aside for things that need to be done. So not to panic. We also have in reserves $1.3 million, which is great. Maintenance fees, the homeowners owe $11,000, that's as of September 30th, and we have prepayments from homeowners of $61,000. So it's going good so far. We're just having a problem getting all our financial information together that I'm happy to present to you. So hopefully in the next week or so we'll get that done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, the next order of business is our repair of the geothermal well. Who has that one? You got that? Jason, you want to tell us what that one is about, and how much it is? It's in progress now, is it not?
Yes. Yes, that one is, it was $12,000 to repair that well. Basically, they re-drilled the well and sleeved it further down. The well was collapsing. The geothermal well is the well that provides the water to the heating system for the main pool. So it basically pulls the hot water from underneath the ground, runs it through that heating system, heats the water that goes back into the pool. The wall of that well was collapsing. They tried to repair it a couple years ago using a slurry method that many people try. That wasn't working, so what we did was we drilled it deeper and put a sleeve deeper into the ground so that it'll last much longer. So this deeper sleeve should extend the life on it much further.
Okay, thank you. Brazilian pepper cleanup?
And can you do a motion on that?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the $12,000 bid for the geothermal repairs. All in favor? So moved, thank you. Brazilian peppers?
Jason, is this the revised one that we've got here?
Yes, sir. This is the one where we reduced the number of trees so that it wasn't a forest after we took out the Brazilian peppers. Should be $5,038 to do and that includes the irrigation for that.
We removed a whole bunch of Brazilian peppers behind a number of homes on Cedar. And when we did this, there was no repair work done. There's, right now it's a bit of a mess behind there, so this is a a proposal to repair those areas and re-landscape them so that they are presentable and not an unsightly mess behind each of the homes involved. So this is an amount of $5,000, which I think we've had reduced from the original quote, putting a couple of less trees in than was originally budgeted. So I would like to make a motion that we accept this and get the work done, as it's been going on for about 9 months, I think, since the Brazilian pepper was first removed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next one is the oak tree trimming.
For the last few years, we've done sporadically done the oak tree trimming down the main boulevards and through some of the residential neighborhoods. The cost of that is around $24,000 to $25,000 each time we do it, and we've been doing it like every other year. What we've come up with is, I think, a much better idea. We're going to start doing half every year, so that each year we can budget $12,500 and have the same amount in our budget every year for the oak trees. So the main part, half of the community will be done before the end of this year. We'll try to take the areas that have the most overgrowth on the oak trees, and then sometime in the spring of 2020, we'll complete the process. And then every year from then on, half of the oak trees will get done and we'll be on a schedule. We've tried to move all our things into these types of schedules so that the impact isn't greater on one year and then no impact on the next year, so that we're smoothing all these things out. Do I have a motion to accept that plan?
I just want to make one comment. It might be appropriate to think in terms of perhaps doing the homes first, because they're the ones that people are putting in work orders because they've got growth, and then we do the common areas in 2020, and that way at least we get most of the private homes dealt with.
I'm good with that. Everybody like that idea? Okay, all in favor of doing half the oak trees this year and half next year, and continuing that and starting with the residential homes? All in favor, thank you. The oak trees on Cedar. You want to talk about that?
For quite a while we've been talking about removing the small oak trees on Cedar and Laurel, which are between the sidewalks and the roadways, to prevent any damage to the sidewalks and roadways in future years. Right now the trees are still pretty small and unlikely to do any damage. The original thought was to move them and move them to other sites in the community where trees would be beneficial. The landscaper has said to us that they're concerned about digging up the old trees because of the pipes and electrical wiring, etc., that's underneath, and we know that the developer did not do us any favours in the way they put their pipes and things in. And also, even though there are machines that they can get to dig them out in a manner that does enable them to transfer them to another site, they can't warranty those. So their suggestion is, and they've given us quotes to show that this is correct, that it would be less expensive, in fact, it's slightly less expensive to cut the trees down, sod the area where the trees are, buy new trees and plant them elsewhere. And so that's the proposal that's being put forward. The difference in price, one is $8,930, which was the transplanting, and the new one is $7,280, plus the cost of mulch in both cases. And I'd like to make a motion that we accept the $7,280 bid to remove the small oak trees on Laurel and Cedar and transplant them in other areas, specifics of which can be advised to the landscaper when the time comes.
Cut them down or?
Wait,
Yeah, cut the old ones down and buy new ones.
not transfer.
Not transfer. It's cheaper anyway to do it that way. So.
Second, all in favor? Okay, that's a good thing to get done, because eventually those trees are very close to the sidewalk and the street, and they're just going to cause a lot more problems down the road. The next thing on the agenda is renewing the landscape committee charter with a new charter. We're trying to get all of our committees to have a basic charter that has the same basic elements in it, and it's just changed for each individual committee to have some things in it that are pertinent to that committee only. So you've all got a copy of the proposed charter. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this landscape committee charter as you have it. All in favor? Thank you.
Nothing.
This is a zero cost. Okay. Anybody else have anything under new business that they'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I had one. The pond committee are looking for helpers for November 1st. If you can give up a few minutes of your time to help them, they're going to be going around and putting door hangers out to try to show residents what they should and shouldn't be doing in their with the use of water in their yards. There are problems with people who wash their cars who are using the wrong types of shampoo for the car and things of that nature. And so there are going to be door hangers put out to try to encourage people to use pond-friendly methods when using water around the house.
This is
So-
everything that goes down the drain.
Yeah, everything that goes down the drain, essentially. So we would really, really appreciate a few people who could volunteer on November 1st in the morning to help. And anybody who is willing, please see either Ron Rosenblatt or Louise Doherty. I'm sorry, I was having a senior moment.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
We're looking for approximately 2 people per street, and you have to be a little bit mobile. It includes some walking, and all you're gonna do is just put these things on the door hangers for people. And so the residents will know that we're coming, and so that they shouldn't interfere with what you're doing. They won't be alarmed when they see somebody walking to their door. And we would really appreciate it, because we have 886 homes, 866 in here, and it'll take a little bit of time, but the more people we have, the less time it'll take.
Okay, thank you very much. See Ron, if you want to volunteer for that important effort. Any old business, new business, other business the board wants to bring up this time? All right, we're going to open the floor for comments on stuff we've discussed tonight. Please, we don't want comments that only pertain to your own particular house. These are general things. We have a new camera, a wide angle, so please come up here and stand behind the microphone. Face the crowd, please. You want to be first? Be a trial run. The camera's over there, by the way, so make that your good side.
You want me to face this way?
Yeah, that's good, right there.
Okay, I'm asking you, I've heard that there's planning going on and getting bids for repairs to the concrete in the pickleball courts and the bocce courts, but I heard that 3 months ago, I haven't heard anything since.
We have the quotes in hand. We are getting quotes from people to do both so that we can save some money. We're having a meeting on the courts, the pickleball courts, on the 2nd, I think, 5th of November to iron out that part of it. We're going to do both at the same time, hopefully with the same contractor.
Okay, I just hope we get it. It's difficult to get it done in time for the snowbirds to get back so that they can use them.
We'll get it done. But nothing moves really fast. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's my catchphrase. Who's next? Danny?
Hi, Tammy Bramble, 189 Shelf Falls. First, to John, we appreciate your concerns of interest on both sides, pros and cons, interest, good or bad. But I do have a question on every workshop or board meeting, as a rule, the irrigation comes up, the ponds come up. You all mentioned we're gonna have to borrow money for those things. So before we go, once again, like I was saying at the board workshop, we're gonna consider putting in things that we can't take care of. That is, you all quoted over $500,000. Just wanted, everybody should be aware of where your money's going, and we all like extras, and they can all come in time. But if we have to borrow money right now to pay for the necessities, I'm just asking, be careful, because we're gonna be paying that off for a long time.
Thank you. Whether or not we have to borrow money is in the discussion part of our thing. We are very confident that we can overcome the irrigation hurdles without borrowing money.
Are those in the process of being scheduled to be done for the people who have been without for some?
We are looking at getting a contractor. We have one bid on the irrigation system. We're looking for another bid. It's not very easy to get bids. We are also looking at other contractors, and we've reached out to an engineering firm to see if they can consult with us and give us some guidance on the right way to go. It's a lot of money. It's going to take a long time, and we want to make sure we do it right.
What about the ponds?
The ponds, we have the money for the ponds. We're going ahead. That contract has been let, and we should be starting that next month on Pond 8. And we also have a contract to take the reeds out of the pond across from the clubhouse. That work should be getting done. How soon? Next week they'll be starting on that.
And the asphalt.
Yeah, well, that's a reserve item. We're getting the quotes on that. Remember we had that guy come in and talk about the roads and gave us the scenario on all the different roads. He's coming back in to update his proposals and to give us a heads up on what he thinks we should do, and we'll go from there. That again, we'll get another bid. But we're looking at both those things because they're the first things that I think we need to get done. But we're going to do them very carefully and with other expertise besides ourselves. Mr. Wolf.
Hi, how you doing? First of all, my question is twofold. The first question is, when we are thinking about the dog park, we have to think also about where people are going to drive to, bring their car, and have adequate parking. That's number one. That's something that I think is very important. The second thing is, the other day I was driving up on, is it 41 up here, the main road? Anyway, coming up to go into the entrance, the whole road was just flooded in front of our complex. And I wanted to find out who is responsible. Is that the City of Apollo Beach? Are they responsible for the sidewalks and all that?
It's a county road, Hillsborough County.
That's Hillsborough County. Okay, is there a way possible we can find out about maybe getting some type of drainage? It was so bad that, I mean, you couldn't even see the sidewalk or the streets or anything.
Okay. Can we make a complaint to the county on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Patty. Evening.
Patty Smith, 131 Silver Falls. I just want to read something, so bear with me. These are the items that the South Shore Falls Women's Club has purchased for the clubhouse within the last couple of years. And we are no longer able to do our 50-50, and so we are no longer able to support the clubhouse. But I think you should know that all the work that has been done by the Women's Club, and that your dues will go up, because when you hear the amount of items and the prices, so bear with me. Silverware for 104 people, tablecloths, rounds, rectangular, table toppers, napkins, salt and pepper shakers, coffee pots, carafes, kitchen islands, stools, serving carts, all kinds of decorations for mirrors, vases, coolers, chafing dishes, iced tea urns, electric skillets, sternos, trays and racks, knife sets, stew pots, serving platters, serving bins, chocolate fountain, stage. I believe that the Women's Club paid for all but a $1,000, which was donated by one of the realtors here. The backdrop curtains, the stage steps, the stage handrails, the tabletops, the sound system. So we did pay for part of the sound system. Table numbers, table holders, easels, card tables, the library. Most of the library was built by Bob Douglas, but it was all through the funds of the Women's Club. Lock boxes, the poolside tables, poinsettias, bingo, all of the bingo equipment, even though it's old, it was purchased by the Women's Club. The hangers and the wires for the art gallery in the hallway, the stove, the refrigerator, long tables, card tables. I think we bought the sink. So everything, I think we donated $2,400 last year for new appliances in the kitchen. Dyson vacuum, the pool tables, barbells, metal storage containers, canasta supplies, different tiers for shelving that are on wheels. And every month we send out cards to people that are sick, and we also do meals for people that have come out of the hospital or something like that. The donations, those were just for South Shore Falls. We do St. Anne's Food Pantry, Calvary Lutheran Food Pantry, hygiene products for Hurricane Irma victims through both churches, the Mary Martha House. We have donated to the Mary Martha House for years. One Mary Martha, it's for added kids. But when we did a luncheon here, and this is all the women in the community. This whole stage was filled with items, and we put out a basket because some women forgot to bring items that we had asked them. They had to actually bring a truck because they didn't have enough cars to take all this stuff home. I think everybody donated something like $750. I can't believe it up. CARE, the JDRF casino night, school supplies to the Ruskin Elementary School, breast cancer and pediatric care. We did a free event with a band and appetizer. We support the Firehouse Cultural Center, the Pediatric Cancer Center, and various donations. We gave to the Sheriff's Department for teddy bears. They were looking for teddy bears for when they have children they pick up to give them teddy bears. Human trafficking, that was a whole other thing. Shriner's House. And not least, we supply all of the American flags for this community. And so I think that everybody should know that because we are now not allowed to do a 50-50, I'm not blaming you, that your dues are going to go up with or without a dog park. Just because these items were very, very expensive.